surprised to hear someone talking about the Bible say that in the beginning God created in favor of creation. But you might be surprised about how God formed and gave function, as well as how God gave freedom to evolve and to grow and to change and develop within the limits of his creation. For something complex to be formed from these Lego pieces, someone would have to take the pieces and form them according to whatever they're trying to create. You're not going to be able to just shake them up and throw them out and think that by chance they're going to end up complex and complete. It's the same thing for me when it comes to creation. The world is too complex to think that we are here by chance. If you read what the beginning of the Bible says about the beginning of creation, then you will notice God gave form. Sometimes with his words, where it says, and God said, let there be, and there was. And sometimes with his works, where it talked about God made or God created, or in the case of man and woman, God formed. You will also read that God gave function, where it says God separated one thing from another to distinguish the different functions, where it says that God called things certain things to declare their function. You will also read where God gave freedom, where he doesn't say let there be. Instead, God says let the land produce this, or let the waters do this, or let man and woman do this, or let the birds and the fish and the animals do this. Pause the video, grab a Bible, and turn to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Verse 2. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Notice that before we even get to day one, it exists, and the Spirit of God hovering over the water already exists before God creates anything on day one. Also, notice that darkness exists, and waters exist, and that the earth exists. Although the earth is formless and empty, meaning it's unformed, spoiler alert, God is going to form it, and it's unfilled, spoiler alert, God is about to fill it, it still exists. And whether you believe that the beginning is a point in time, or you believe that the beginning is a period of time that lasted over billions and billions of years, what is clear is that the earth existed before day one, and so did God. Here's what verse 3 said. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness, called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So on the first day, God created light with his words by command. Darkness already existed, and God gave function to the light and to the darkness, or declared the function of the light and the darkness on day one by distinguishing between the two and separating the light and calling it day and the darkness and calling it night. The first day, he gives form and function. The second day, and God said, let there be a vault, or an expanse, between the waters, separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning, the second day. On the second day, God created the sky, this vault or expanse that was supposed to be in between the waters that already existed. And not only did he form the sky on the second day, but he also gave function to the sky. Its function was to separate the waters above from the waters below. Day 3. And God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. In verse 11, it says, then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. On the third day, you see some form, the land, and you see some function distinguishing the land from the seas, but you also see some freedom. That God says, let the land produce vegetation, allowing the land to evolve and develop and change and adapt and grow, and all of the living organisms, the plants in this sense, to evolve and to change and to grow on the third day. And God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, the sun, and the lesser light to govern the night, the moon. He also made the stars. So on day 4, God formed the sun, the moon, and the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky for what function? To give light on the earth. What other function? To govern the day and night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. Verse 20. And God said, let the water, again, he's giving the water freedom to evolve and to grow and to change. Let the water teem with living creatures. Let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which the water teems and that moves about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 5th day. On the 5th day, God created birds and fish to fill the sky and the seas that he created and formed on day 2. And he gave them freedom to fill it and to adapt and to grow and to change and evolve in the limits of their species, within the limits of their kind. Fish could not evolve and change and become a bird, but fish could evolve within their kinds. Day 6, and God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Look, he is giving the land freedom and all the creatures on the land to evolve within the limits of their kinds and their species. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them something similar that he just said about the creatures of the sky and the creatures of the seas. Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth. An unformed earth, God formed it in days 1, 2, and 3. An unfilled earth, he filled it in days 4, 5, and 6. Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Now he gives man, woman, he gives us our function. Then, along with giving us a function and a purpose, he gives us some provisions. He says, I give you every seed bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And he tells us again another function for the vegetation and the fruit and the trees and the plants. And to all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for what function? For food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day. And in those 6 days, God did not give us forgetfulness about who created us and how he created us and why he created us. God gave the earth everything that it needed, and his work was completed. And it says this: thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. He established this seventh day so that we would have rest in the same way that he had rest from forming everything with his words and his works, but also so that we would remember our Creator.